Now, we are going to talk about the culture that it focuses on English literature in the Romantic period. At the turn of the century, fired by ideas of personal and political liberty and of the energy and sublimity of the natural world, artists and intellectuals sought to break the bounds of 18th century convention. Although the works of Jean-Jacques Rousseau and William Godwin had great influence, the French Revolution and its aftermath had the strongest impact of all. In England, initial support for the revolution was primarily utopian and idealist, and when the French failed to live up to the expectations, most English intellectuals renounced the revolution. However, the Romantic vision had taken forms other than political, and this developed apace. In lyrical ballads, a watcher in literary history, William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge presented and illustrate a liberating and aesthetic poetry should express in genuine language experience as filtered through personal emotion and imagination. The truest experience was to be found in nature. The concept of the sublime straightened this turn to nature because in wild countryside the power of the sublime could be felt most immediately. Wordsworth's Romanticism is probably most fully realized in his great autobiographical poem, The Prelude. In search of sublime moments, Romantic poets wrote about the marvelous and supernatural, the exotic, and the medieval. But they also found beauty in the lives, or simple, rural people and aspects of the everyday world. The second generation of Romantic poets included John Keats, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and George Gordon Lord Byron. In Keats' great odes, intellectual and emotional sensibility merged in language of great power and beauty. Shelley, who combined soaring lyricism with an apocalyptic political vision, sought more extreme effects and occasionally achieved them. As in his great drama, Prometheus Unbound, his wife Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley wrote the greatest of the Gothic romances, the famous Frankenstein, in 1818. Lord Byron was the prototypical romantic hero, the envy and scandal of the age. He has been continually identified with his own characters, particularly the rebellious, irreverent, erotically including Don Juan. Byron invested the romantic lyric with the rationalism irony. Minor romantic poets include Robert Southey, best remembered today for his story, Woodcock and the Three Bears, Leigh Hunt, Thomas More, and Walter Savage Landor. The Romantic era was also rich in literary criticism and other non-fictional prose. Coleridge proposed an influential theory of literature in his Biographia Literaria. William Godwin and his wife, Mary Wollstonecraft, wrote groundbreaking books on human and women's rights. William Hazlitt, who never forsook political radicalism, wrote brilliant and astute literary criticism. The master of the personal essay was Charles Lamb, whereas Domestic Queens was master of the personal confession. The periodicals Edinburgh Review and Blacklist magazine, in which leading writers were published throughout the century, were major forums of controversy, political as well as literary. Although the great novelist Jane Austen wrote during the Romantic era, his works defines classification with insight, grace, and irony. The line human relationship with the context of English country life. Sir Walter Scott, Scottish nationalist and romantic, made the genre of the historical novel widely popular. Other novelists of the period were Maria Edgeworth, Edward Butler Lytton, and Thomas Love Pickell, the latter known for his eccentric novels satirizing the Romantics. I achieved exclusively an interview with one of the most important characters in the Romantic age, that is, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Let's start. Okay. Hello, Mr. Rousseau. It's a pleasure for me to share some important things about your life.
Hello everyone. Well, I'm here to discuss some things about my work.
What is one of your most famous works, Mr. Rousseau?
My first major philosophical work is a discourse of the science and arts.
And also your work was the winning response to an essay contest conducted by the Academy for the Young in 1750. And what can you tell me about this work?
Well, it's about the progression of the science and arts that caused the corruption of virtue and morality.
Mr. Rousseau, what can you tell me about your personal life?
I was born on June 28 in 1712 in Geneva, Switzerland. My mother was Susan Rousseau and my father Isaac Rousseau. My father abandoned me to avoid imprisonment after fighting a duel.
So, you raised by your aunt and your uncle, right?
Yes, and many years later I met Madame Louise and I served her, and later she became my lover.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And this interview was made for All About the Fields. My name is Rebecca Estrada. Thank you. Now, we're gonna talk about some scandals and some important things about this age. And one of the most important things that happened was the French Revolution. And with the French Revolution happened another really important things. Romanticism emerged amidst political tumult, as evidenced by the French Revolution and the First Reform Act that conventionally bookended this literary historical period. And yet, at the same time, Romanticism has repeatedly been associated with escape and fantasy, with the individual's flight into realms of vision, self-involvement, and retrospection. No better symptom of this view exists than the way the term romantic has come to stand as the antithesis of realist. But renewed attention to the historical condition that grounded Romanticism has challenged this simplification. In the last 30 years, research has shown how the era's economic realities, social concerns, and political context found expression in Romantic poetry, novels, drama, and other forms of writing. The political and industrial revolution that shaped the period are one obvious place to start: the French Revolution, and spread the idea that politics and public morality might be decided not only by elites, but also by the general populace. Discontent with the status led to escalating attacks on and worries over religion's role in keeping things as they are, as Godwin put in. Likewise, then the extension of education became a fraught topic, and children were increasingly seen as a battleground where the different classes fought for the future of society. The Industrial Revolution heightened economic satisfaction, leading to ambivalence about increasing urbanization and regularization of the environment. The quickening of commercial expansion also meant that Britain was less and less insular as its imperial ambitions grew and it confronted other peoples and cultures, in particular through the scandal of slavery. The question of exploitation abroad reverberated domestically as discrimination against women came to the fore. Feminist thinkers also reconsidered the status of women as both mothers and members of society. In these various ways, the Romantic period witnessed the redefinition of citizenship key to our own modernity. In this process, poets and writers play a fundamental role as the unacknowledged legislators of the world. In Percy Shelley's famous words.
Good evening and welcome back to the new program. Let's see what's going on around the world in this international report. First, in Mexico there's this huge movement armed that it's called the Mexican Independence that is starting around the 1810, which this movement is led by Mr. Agustin de Iturbide along with Mr. Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla. This movement is a conflict arm to put an end of the rule of Spain and to set Mexico free and make it, as the name of the movement says, independent. Okay, now let's go to Italy, where this excavation is happening to search for the ruins of the ancient Roman town Pompeii, which was destroyed by the eruption of this volcano, the Mount Vesuvius, around 79 AD. And this is a very beautiful city that unfortunately was destroyed by this volcano, but as the news says, they are making this excavation to see what can be restored from these ruins. And now let's go to the next segment. Alright, let's talk about sport. I have been told of this creation of this new sport called cricket, which is consisting of a ball and a ball game that is played between two teams of 11 players on this rectangular field that it is being told that its creation is in maybe England during the 18th century, and this is kind of an interesting sport because it just involves a bat and a ball, not like the baseball. But this bat can look like a hammer, but who knows? This can be a very interesting sport. And also I have been told that they're forming the first team in English to tour overseas on a board ship to the North American. And let's see what happens if this team wins. Okay, let's talk about two artists that contributed a lot in the area of poetry. The first one is going to be John Keats. This great figure during the second generation of the Romantic poets, which also worked with lyrical poetry. Two of his most representative works is called Hyperion, and the other is Oath of an Immigration Urn. The second artist that we are going to talk about is Charles Lamb, which during the publication of the London magazine attracted major contributions from this artist. And in particular, this artist, Charles Lamb, transformed the informal essay of the 18th century to made it more personal, more introspective in this romantic composition. And that's all from this news report, and I'm going to see you on the next transmission. Bye bye.
During the Romanticism, the classified ads or the advertising mainly were related about wars for textile industry, matrimonial agencies, advertising about the prices of travel by train, and especially rewards for who denounced the Luddites. Even some ads about doctors who found cures for particular diseases, and the ads for auctions of machinery were common. Did not exist a lot of information about the topic. Romanticism and the arrival of the Industrial Revolution. The problems that brought the period in society. Throughout the long wars with France, Britain's government kept a tight lid on domestic deceit. It ignored the problems caused by the Industrial Revolution, including overcrowding on factory towns, the unpleasant and unsafe working conditions in the factories, and long working hours and low payment experienced by the workers, increasing the problems and got worse. The Luddite riots. The Luddites were a social movement of British textile artisans in the 19th century who protest, often by destroying mechanized looms, against the change produced by the Industrial Revolution, which they felt was leaving them without work and changing their way of life. The movement emerged in the harsh economic climate of Napoleonic Wars and difficult working conditions in the new textile factories. The principal objection of the Luddites was to the introduction of new wide-frame automated looms that could be operated by cheap, relatively unskilled labor, resulting in the loss of jobs for many skilled textile workers. In modern usage, Luddite is a term describing those opposed to industrialization, automation, computerization of new technologies in general. The working classes in England. In the condition of the working class in England, Frederick Engels described backstreet section of Manchester and other mill towns where people lived in crude shanties and shacks, some not completely enclosed, some with dirt floors. These shanty towns had narrow walkways between irregularly shaped lots and dwellings. There were no sanitary facilities, population density was extremely high, 8 to 10 unrelated mill workers often shared a room, often with no furniture, and slept on a pile of straw and sawdust. Toilet facilities were shared if they exist. Disease spread through a contaminated water supply. Also, people were at risk of developing pathologies due to persisting dampness. The famines that troubled rural areas did not happen in industrial areas, but urban people, especially small children, died due to diseases spreading through the cramped living condition. Tuberculosis spread in congested dwellings, lung diseases from the mines, cholera from the polluted water, and typhoid were also common. Not everyone lived in such poor condition. The Industrial Revolution also created a middle class of professionals, such as lawyers and doctors, who live in much better conditions.
Oh, Frederick, are you all right?
Yes. Would you excuse me for 1 minute, dear?
Oh, of course, Doctor.
Igor? May I speak to you for a moment?
Of course.
Sit down, won't you?
Thank you.
No, up here.
Thank you.
Now, that brain that you gave me, was it Hans Delbrück's?
No.
Good. Would you mind telling me whose brain I did put in?
And you won't be angry?
I will not be angry.
Abby someone.
Abby someone. Abby who?
Abby Normal.
Abby Normal.
I'm almost sure that was the name.
Are you saying that I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5 foot long 54-inch white gorilla! Is that what you're telling me? Quick, get him up!
What? 3 syllables, yes.
I wonder who that could be at this